Good evening and welcome to WQRX-TZ. I'm Mrs. Stark and here with me we have Sir Coral Rogers. So excited to finally meet you, Coral. How are you today?
It's a pleasure. I'm doing well.
Fantastic. Well, I have a couple of questions for you. First of all, I would just absolutely die to hear about your childhood. How was it growing up and what was your experience like as a young child?
Okay, well, I was born in 1902 in a small suburb outside of Chicago, and I was born to two parents that were very fundamentalist Protestants, and they were very, very strict. There was no playing cards, dancing, drinking, smoking was all very taboo in our family. I had 5 brothers and sisters, and we weren't really supposed to socialize outside of the family. So, I didn't really do much socializing until I went to the University of Wisconsin.
Oh, I thought they had phenomenal cheese there. Did you eat cheese?
I did have my fair share of cheese.
Oh, that's
there.
great.
It's quite delicious.
Good.
At the University of Wisconsin was where I really kind of branched out of my shell a little bit, away from my family and their strictness upon me. And I began at the University of Wisconsin studying agriculture, but as you know, like many young college students, I changed my mind and agriculture just wasn't for me. And I became fascinated with the study of helping individuals and most significantly psychotherapy, if you will. And so I continued on with my studies there, but more in the psychotherapy realm. And I actually went on a trip to China and on a ministry project with my church, and that was where I really began to value self-actualization and being true to oneself, and I feel like that's what was a real turning point for me in my life. And so after the University of Wisconsin, I graduated there. I moved to New York after meeting my lovely wife Helen and getting married.
She's beautiful, by the way. I saw pictures. Simply divine.
We had 2 children, a boy and a girl. And while at New York, I got my PhD at the University of Teachers there,
Dr.
Columbia.
Coral Rogers,
yes,
I presume.
yes. And so my first professional job was doing counseling for young children, and I became very familiar then with Freudian techniques. And the more and more I attempted to practice those, the more I realized there must be a better way, because I just didn't agree with that.
Really? I find that fascinating. So you didn't quite agree with all of the Freudian techniques, and so you used other methods then. So can you explain to me what these other ways and other methods that you found were?
Sure. So we didn't spend much time in New York. I ended up, having the itch to move back to the Midwest. So moved back to the Ohio area and worked at the University of Ohio as a professor, and then also at the University of Chicago, and then finally at the University of Wisconsin. And so over that
time, cheese, huh?
I couldn't stay away. You're right. So after, during that time was when I really developed my own theories and ideas about getting my clients to become more aware of themselves and their actual selves. And so I developed the client or the person-centered approach to learning and therapy.
Phenomenal. And so this person-centered therapy, client-centered therapy, can you explain and elaborate a little bit on exactly what that means for the client and what exactly that looks like for the therapist as well?
Sure. So I found that most of my clients that I was doing therapy on had very low self-esteem, low self-worth. And it was a very common thing that I found in all of my work with clients, all my clients. And so I realized that they had this innate desire to sort of please their authority figures, whether it be their parents or even their spouses. They had this, desire to always please them, and instead of feeling, the desire to speak up for themselves or actually be themselves, they feared rejection. And so working through that and really having a genuine caring for the patient or the student, if you will, I found that they became more aware of themselves, and it really helped them live a better, complete life.
That's phenomenal. Well, we're going to go to a commercial break now, so we'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Cara Rogers.
You're a whole new generation. You're loving what they do. I put a Pepsi in the motion, but that choice is up to you. Hey, you're the Pepsi generation. Girls are down and taste the thrill of the day, and feel the Pepsi way. You're a whole new generation.
Welcome back from our commercial break, ladies and gentlemen, here at KWRX 12. If you are just joining us, we are here with Dr. Carl Rogers, a famous and fascinating man, and we are just finishing up our interview all about his person-centered therapy, which is phenomenal and fascinating to the T. My goodness, ladies and gentlemen, it has been one great evening. Well, to finish us off, Cora, I had a couple more questions for you.
Okay.
I was wondering, this therapy that you mentioned, is it specific to psychotherapy, or can it, possibly be used in other fields, such as teaching? Can you use this person-centered therapy in teaching, or in plumbing, perhaps?
Well,
electricity?
I don't know about plumbing or electricity, but I think it's the ideal method to be used in teaching. I really do. I really think that
striking.
Yeah, that the students, when teachers use this genuineness about them and really genuine caring for their students, they can accomplish a lot, and the students feel self-fulfilled, and they actually learn quite a bit.
Brilliant! Simply brilliant! I have one final last question for you, Mr. Rogers. Dr. Rogers, right there. Okay, let's pretend that with us here today we have all future teachers and therapists alike.
Okay.
If you had one piece of crystal golden advice for them, what exactly would you say to them right here, right now, today?
Okay. Well, it's hard to sum it up in just one simple sentence, but I think for teachers, do away with examinations, do away with grades, do away with that stern teacher image that students tend to have, and become more caring and create an environment where students are actually excited to learn and are willing and motivated to learn, and have that genuineness about you as a teacher. That will really facilitate an area where students can learn willingly and can really become great humans, because they will have such a great self-actualization.
Right, simply fascinating. Mr. Rogers, Dr. Carl Rogers, I just want to thank you so much for coming aboard KWRX 12 today. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Coming up next,